Now sometimes when we think of paths or we think of mountains, we think of them as separate. But I want to really engage the idea that sometimes a path can start 100 kilometers away from a mountain, sometimes a path is halfway up the mountain, and sometimes we lose track of that path because it's so steep and we're at the top peak and we see these clouds and our mind just thinks we're almost there, and then we see another part of the mountain behind that peak that we thought we were at the top of. And that's how it's been in my life for many things. I've started a long ways away, on this path where I can just barely see the mountain, or I'm at the top experiencing some joy, and then I find that there's a helicopter waiting for me and I have to go to the next part or the next summit. So I want to just break down 3 or 4 different paths and 3 or 4 different goals, destinies, and dreams which I consider my mountains, and how I kind of got there. Now before I continue, I also want to say one mountain, one destiny, one goal does not attribute all of those goals. When I get up early in the morning, I have a spiritual goal, a spiritual mountain and path I'm trying to achieve. I'm working out after that, I'm shooting the videos after that, I'm writing articles after that, I'm building relationships. All these are different paths and different mountains I'm trying to achieve. I do not believe that you can do all at one time and all are going to stay the same. Sometimes you'll be halfway up a certain mountain, maybe spiritually, mentally, or physically, and then all of a sudden you realize that you need to be somewhere else. And I think that's when the mode of transportation changes, when you need to jump onto a helicopter and go to another mountain completely, or another pathway for that matter, or the pathway that weaves up through that mountain. So I'm just going to break down the video series side, just telling you my own story. I'm going to tell you about the path of my weight loss, which is combined with the video series, and also I think I'm going to tell you about how I'm growing spiritually. So I'll start with the video series itself. When I first looked at this huge mountain, this insurmountable landmass, I started right at the bottom of this mountain. Some people again would think that the pathway starts hundreds of kilometers away. For me, it did, in the sense of this is what I always wanted to do with film and video. And I was able to, look back those, few hundred kilometers and see where I had come from when it came to the small videos that I had shot, some of the trailers and commercials and music videos I was a part of. But right at that moment, I was at the bottom of this mountain looking up at a very steep path. There was going to be 300, 400 plus episodes that I wanted to shoot. And I thought to myself, I can't do this. And then my mom came in, one night and she said, Steve, you just have to take one step at a time. And I think that's really, the interesting part about this whole, climbing and attaining to a different level in life, is that you have to keep looking up to where you're going, but at the same time looking down at your path. Because if you keep looking up for too long, like I did at the video series, it became daunting. It became almost impossible. And when I looked, I took too long to look down, I saw the pitfalls, the problems, my equipment, the little idiosyncrasies that I didn't think were going to work well. So what did I do? I had to continually schedule out my plans, think about what I wanted to do, and then look down and shoot them the day of. I had to think, okay, this is my goals, these are the things that I want to attain to, and at the same time keep saying, oh, here's a boulder rolling down, or that place is muddy, or there's rain coming, and you have to look a little bit off to the left or to the right. And so I could see that as the months started to go by, because I was just focusing on the top, I was looking down at the pathway and, eluding all these treacherous things that were coming my way as I'm keeping focused on where I'm supposed to go, I made a lot of progress. And here I am at the end of season 2, 200 videos later, and I'm just thinking to myself, wow, you're more than halfway there. And it was just that consistent moving forward, going forward. And then, since I was halfway up the mountain, this particular mountain, I could look back, and not only did I see where I started from, but I could see way, way back, hundreds of kilometers ago, 10 years ago, when I first started, really thinking I could do this film stuff in my heart. Now let me just talk to you quickly about the weight loss and then my spiritual journey right now. My weight loss has been one of those things that I never thought I could make it. And so if anything, I saw the mountain in the faraway distance. It was like a speck, like an insignificant speck. And I started walking along the path, and at different times there were different vehicles that came along to help me. I had a coach in grade 9 named Mr. M, and he, pushed me to lose 50 pounds, and I felt like a Ferrari after all those years of walking and trudging, even walking backwards towards my goal of health and fitness. Someone came up in a Ferrari and woof, I was gone. And then, when I started roofing and my body started changing and I had more rigorous muscle, I once again, went from like a Ferrari to, like a freight train. I was going, fast on rails with no stop signs. And then at times I got myself caught up, looking at the mountain very far away, and I got deterred and I went back. And and sometimes I felt like I was in a freight train going the other way. And then a few years ago, I got to this, like the edge of this forest, and I saw the trees and the looming problems around me, and for the first time I said, I'm going to go through this forest. I'm going to go as far as this pathway goes, and then I'm going to carve the path out for myself so that I can make it to the bottom of this mountain and start climbing up. And at times while on the path, sometimes I was focused so deeply on trying to figure out how much weight to lose or doing the math behind the series that I let my health escape me. And I started veering away, and I was like in the thick of things in this forest, and then all of a sudden I finally look up after days or weeks of looking down and just trying to lose the weight or trying to do things in a non-healthy fashion, and I'm like, whoa, my mountain wasn't here anymore, it's all the way over there, and now I have to again backtrack or cut through this forest and get back on the path. And then sometimes I'd be looking so hard at that mountain that all those little pitfalls, those narrow areas, I would slip and I would fall down into, and I would get myself hurt. So once again, I saw myself needing to look up at the peak, look up at where I need to go, but at the same time keep looking down day to day. Or if, for instance, when I step into the gym, which I just started doing now, I just think to myself, okay, I have this workout to do today. That's the end, that's the little mountain I have to get, that's the next little peak or the next stage in my path. But first I have to do 1 rep, 1 set, keep going, proper form, doing it properly. Not focusing on the form so much that I don't get my workout done, but at the same time seeing the balance, and then you get to see the journey by popping your head up, back and forth, back and forth. Lastly, on the spiritual side of things, I've always wanted to have a better spiritual sense ever since I was a kid. And at times, like I said in the first 2 ways of the paths in the mountains, I felt that I was, starting on the path at some point. Now, for me, spiritually speaking, I don't believe that you can adopt a faith, but I was in a decent circumstance to start off with. Living in North America, living with family who, really wanted to instill good morals and ideals. I kind of started, maybe a third of the way up the mountain kind of thing, and sometimes people start up there, and then sometimes people start or born at the peak of the mountain, and they spend their whole life just getting over the mountain. Or, like myself, you hit your teenage years and you slide all the way down the mountain, and you're going down the other path before you realize you got to turn around and you got to head up that path again up to the next peak. And I found recently that I felt like I was hitting those spiritual goals for myself, meditating, praying, breathing, studying the word. And then once I got to this peak and all that cloud cover, I noticed that there was another echelon, there was another level, another summit that I could get to, and I started seeing that this mountain, this spiritual mountain that I was on, was just gonna keep going. And I could see that it was a steady incline, but it was an incline that I could definitely take on and I could work with. And so, even though, in those 3 analogies, whether it's work, my personal health and fitness, or my spiritual side of things, I want to encourage you today that no matter where you are on your path, if you're starting today, that's okay. If you're starting next week or you've been at it for years, you just got to keep looking up and down. And the beautiful thing is that as you look down, right, you're going to, again, not fall into the traps, the pitfalls, the narrow areas, the muddy places that are going to bring you down. When you look up, right? And you just glance up for a bit, you don't take your eyes too far off the prize, and you keep moving back and forth in this wonderful spectrum, this wonderful area that allows you to see your growth. And then there's that really amazing feeling when you do take a break for a moment from trudging day to day. Maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a summit that you get to, wherever it is, and you finally turn around and you can see the trail, the growth, the everything that you've been able to accomplish, and no matter what your goals, your dreams, and your accomplishments are. So I hope that these stories to some degree maybe get you motivated, get you out there, realizing that you got steps in front of you that you need to take hold of, but please don't take your eyes off the prize because you don't want to deviate too far to the left or the right, and don't stick your head up in the clouds all the time looking at the prize and where you need to go because you don't want to hurt yourself in the here and the now. Good perspective and looking back from where you came from is a phenomenal way to go. If you have any comments or questions, drop it in the comments section below. If you would like to check out anything that pertains to the video, it'll be in the description. I want to say thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day, evening, morning, or night. God bless. Oh yeah, and if you like what I'm doing, please tweet, tumble, like, share, thumbs up, plus, pin, or do whatever you do, and please subscribe.